Greetings, DM Greg here. I'll be giving a quick video class on how to convert content from DnD Beyond to Fantasy Grounds Unity. One of the top complaints or gripes I see on forums such as Reddit or Facebook is I already own the content in D&D Beyond and I want to use it on a virtual tabletop. How can I do it without purchasing it again? Alright, so VTTs like Fantasy Grounds Unity and Roll20, if you want to purchase the content in their software, it is licensed by Wizards of the Coast. D&D Beyond is also a licensee. Contrary to what a lot of people think, they are actually owned by the Fandom Games. They are their own Wikia, if you're familiar with them. So when you purchase on D&D Beyond, you aren't purchasing directly from Wizards of the Coast. You are purchasing from a licensee. Alright, so with that kind of out of the way, I'm going to show you how to get the Lost Mine of Phandelver. I'm going to use that as an example of the adventure into Fantasy Grounds Unity, mostly by using copy and paste and using the free open game license material that is available in Fantasy Grounds Unity as SRD. So first I'm going to launch Fantasy Grounds. All right. I'm going to create a new campaign. Go ahead and maximize this. Using the DnD 5e. This is the basic information. We'll call this Lost Mine of Phandelver. A little too long, so I'll just call it LMAP. There we go. The reason I name it this is I'm going to use this as a module name, and then when I actually run, say, a Friday night campaign, I'll call it Friday Night LMAP, so I have a better container of where my campaigns are at. So once I have the name, I am going to set this to private. I don't want anybody to jump in or find me on the cloud, right? Or you just do LAN, but it'll be private. Actually, I'll just do this locally on my machine, so that way I don't have any interference with internet connections. Okay, got it named. I have the rule set selected, right? 5e. We'll go ahead and start. While this is starting, I'm going to kill my webcam so we can see everything that's going on. Alright, so we are on the generic launcher within Fantasy Grounds. This is what it looks like when you log in. I'm going to skip the campaign setup because there's actually nothing loaded and we're creating from scratch. So first thing to do is we want to take advantage of the SRD and open game license content for D&D 5e. We're going to go down to the bottom right here in the library. And we want to load what's available in Fantasy Grounds by clicking on that modules. Go back, the modules right there. All right, you can see a bunch of stuff that I own. You can pretty much ignore it. What we want is the 5e SRD, so we're going to load these three modules. And then there is the basic rules. We want to load that as well. Get both of them loaded. Right, now that that content is loaded, we want to make sure our menu on the right has the banners or buttons that we need to create this adventure. So I'm just going to go into GM mode, right, which is default. That's what's got this set. You click all, and it adds all of these over here. Or create PC, it minimizes that. Or if you play as a player, that's that button. But GM is where we want to be for this. Alright, so I think the first thing we want to do is create the assets that we're going to have in game. Basically, it's the NPCs and the maps that we're going to be using. And then we're also going to be, if we want, we could take it to the next level and create the story in game. If you have two monitors, I'm going to go ahead and flip open this. You could do this side by side. You won't need all the text in game, but I will show you how to copy and paste this text so that way you could actually just run it purely out of Fantasy Grounds. So we got part 1, Goblin Arrows. I'm going to create a story by clicking the edit list here. Hit this add item. I'll call it 0 or 1.0. We do like using numerics that'll keep the story in order as we create new storyboards for it. Ooh. All right, and the nice thing about Unity is you can copy and paste text right out of a document. So I'll do this, Control C, and then click right here and Control V. All right, we'll hit enter. We have a text call out box. So for example, we'll do this. I'm going to copy it. I'll paste it here. And this was a text call out, so I'm going to right click anywhere in that paragraph, go to paragraph type, and go to chat frame. And same here, chat frame. So now I know to read this out loud as a DM, or you could, in addition to, or however you want to do it, you could just click there and it sends that over to the chat so everybody can see it in game. They can read along with you or have somebody read it for you. All right. And not to get too hung up on this, that is how we're going to manage this content. I'm going to go ahead. We'll skip a bunch of it. I'm going to do the next part of it. Right. So we'll go to Kragmaw Hideout. We'll call this 1.1 just for the sake of keeping this sequential. I know we just skipped a lot of content, but no need to make a 5-hour video when I'm just trying to get the point across. So I got Kragmaw Hideout. Right. Close that so we don't have confusion. And just to show you real quick what I was talking about the sequence, now you got 1.0, 1.1. If you think you're going to be needing more than 10 story frames and you call it 1.00, go from tens to hundredths. All right, and I'll help organize your data. And it's nice too because next page will go sequentially with the numbering system. Otherwise, it reverts to alphabetical, and so that would have put Kragmaw before Goblin, and then stuff's out of order. All right, so we got the gist of creating the story off of content we own in DnD Beyond. Next is how do we get the map in game? Well, the nice thing about DnD Beyond is you can click on this and it'll enlarge it. I don't want the DM map for the sake of this tutorial. I want the player map. So I'm going to do a view player version. I'll right click on it and I'll save image as. And I'm just going to put it on my desktop. You probably want to have a folder that organizes your data better than on your desktop. I'll clean this up after. All right, so you can see in the file name I typed Kragmaw Hideout. I do want to modify it. I want to know when I load something what I'm loading, if it's an image or a map. So I'll put that first. And then I also want it to identify that this is the player's map. So I'll put that at the end. Okay, so that is now saved. I'm going to go back in the Fantasy Grounds Unity to import this map. You will find that right here under Images and Maps. It's this banner here. And I'm going to import files. And then this has already got me on my desktop. So I'm going to go to Map, Kragmaw Hideout, Players. I'll open it. And here we go. Now the nice thing about Fantasy Grounds, I'll resize this and then make the fit. There we go. You could actually link assets and stuff into your story. Everything links together. So I'll go to Kragmaw Hideout and I'll unlock this. And I'm going to go ahead and place it where it would be coming up right now if we go back to DnD Beyond. Click out of here. Shortly after those opening paragraphs. So I'll just go ahead. You could grab this shield here. You'll drag and drop it here. All right, you'll see that it created the shield with the image map Kragmaw Hideout players. I know exactly what it is before I even click on it. And when we're actually running our session, I'll just click it. And here we go. Now I'll use this quick moment and I'm going to show you how to add line of sight, because that is one of the major features if you're going to use Fantasy Grounds Unity. It comes with most of the adventures that you purchase. You'll see a LOS stamp on it on their web store. But if you want to do it, you're here yourself. This is going to be how you do it. First thing I want to do is add a layer. We can see these grids. They're actually not locked. They're hand-drawn essentially, or photoshopped. We want to make sure that that layer is actually enabled. So I'm going to right-click on the map, go to Layers, and then here at the 6 o'clock position, I'm going to set a grid. And I'm just simply going to go from the upper left to the bottom right there to try to do my best to cover that. And I'm looking at the other. There we go. Zoom out a little bit, see how that looks. Looks pretty good. If you need to nudge it, you could just nudge right. Oh, actually, that made it even better. So that was one bump right, and I'm going to call it. That's very good grid right there. So my first layer is the grid. Next thing we want to do is add line of sight. Line of sight is dictated by a tool here in Maps under Wall Layers. So I just added a wall. We'll call it, whatever we want to call it. And we're going to go right here on line of sight. Right, we have a wall. And we got to choose if we want to draw it as a line, as a rectangle or a square, and a circle or ellipse. The cave here is very irregular, and you would think none of these options work best, but really line does. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select line, and if you left click on your mouse when you start drawing and do not release it, it'll actually kind of follow your mouse cursor around. So I'm going to start here, and this is me just holding my mouse down. There we go. Here's the line of sight wall that we're putting in on this map. And you don't got to be perfect on this. Your players will appreciate that it's there, and I don't think they'll care if you're too tight on this or not. Scroll out. All right, so I ran out of room, so using my mouse click on the center wheel mouse, if you depress it and drag on your mouse, you can move that around. I'll pick up where I left off. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. Let go. Just keep going. All right, here we go. All right, let me get this whole center banged out. You could also move around by grabbing this compass rose and clicking it with your mouse and dragging that way. Let's kind of make sure I get enough open here to get a nice chunk done. Here we go. All right, it's dragging. Here we go. Takes a little time. Once you have it, you will always have it. I'm kind of glad we don't have the video running of me in my webcam, because you'll just see my tongue hanging out of my face. And I'll probably box this out so the players get the legend, but then I'll just drag go all the way back over here. There we go. So now the outer is done. Gotta start doing the inners. All right. This banged out. So we're just walling off line of sight, right? Now players can't see through these inner areas. All right. So as they come through, I'm just kind of checking my mouse. I think that's everything. That's going to look pretty good. Once you have your line of sight set, you're going to go ahead and click on the play mode, and then you want to enable line of sight. Okay, so to enable this, we'll just click enable line of sight. Now it just went blank. Kind of off topic, but we'll test this out. I'm just going to grab a Goblin real quick. You can see that this stuff, these NPCs are now part of the basic rules or the SRD data that we had loaded earlier. So I'll put a Goblin from the SRD, my combat tracker. Then from combat tracker, we go to map, And if you have that token highlighted in game, then you will see the line of sight. Refit. There we go. It's kind of a good way to test it to see how it looks. This is what your players will see on their end as well. That looks pretty good for 5 minutes worth of line of sight on the whole map. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this goblin out of here. That tested well. I'm going to go ahead and unlock it. And we're done editing that map. And it is now an asset right out of DnD Beyond, now in Fantasy Grounds Unity. Start closing these windows out. All right, so and one thing to note, you can see that I have all. We are currently uncategorized until we save the module. So that's if you want to narrow down any data in any of these banners that we go through, we want to be in uncategorized to see what it is that we did, right? Vice what is loaded with the SRD and basic rules. All right, so go ahead and close that. So now that we know how to import images and maps, the next thing we want to load are our NPCs coming straight out of the adventure. That way they're available when we start creating this. So let me go back up to, Lost Mine of Fendelver, and there's going to be an appendix with all the monsters. So we go to the monster descriptions here. And I'm going to start making these in alphabetical order so you get an idea of what we're doing. First one is going to be a bugbear. So I'm going to go in-game in Fantasy Grounds. I'm going to go to the NPCs right here in this banner. All right, and I'll clear out. Remember, we typed in Goblin just to do the proof of concept. Everything's in alphabetical order, or we could type it in. I'm going to go bugbear. Now we got 2 bugbears. I like to use the SRD when it's available. That's just me. I'm going to create a copy of it so it's mine. It'll be my uncategorized data by just dragging and dropping it right here. Now it's currently uncategorized, and this is my bugbear for this adventure. All right, so we'll just go right down the list. Next is a commoner. So I'll get a commoner. Same thing, drag and drop. So this is going to be when I save this module, it'll get redesignated as Lost Mine of Fendelver. Next is a cultist. We'll use L's. There we go. Again, SRD. I have a cultist. Next up is a doppelganger. Now this is the fun part. I know a doppelganger is not part of the SRD. So we're going to create our own. And this will be the one instance where we create our own for the sake of this tutorial. So create an NPC from scratch and use what you own in Fantasy Grounds Unity, whether it's from the adventure or the monster manual or any of the other expansions. You simply click Edit List in Fantasy Grounds right here. You're going to click a blue or the green Add Item. All right, and we'll close this. We're over here a little bit. We'll call it the Doppelganger. If you know in your adventure that it is currently polymorphed or whatever it is, you could call it a human. So that way when your players see it and you hide the ID, they'll get the non-ID name. They won't know it's a doppelganger. Next is size. So pretty much for the rest of this, I'm going to copy and paste right out of DnD Beyond. So size, it's medium. Control copy. Alt-tab, Control-V, type, the monstrosity, Alt-tab, it's monstrosity, shape changer. I'll have to Control-copy, I'll have to get that comma out of there technically if I want it to program. There we go. Alignment was neutral. Go ahead and copy that. Okay. Armor class, we'll just hand type that in, is 14. Hit points is 52. And I think speed was 30. Yep. You want to type feet. Fantasy Grounds measures in feet for 5e. Then we get the 6 stats in. So 11, 18, 14. 11, tab 18, tab 14, 11, 12, 14 for the next three, 11, tab 12, say 14. Yep. All right, so now these are in, and you see the modifiers in there. Next is our saving throws. Let's see if it has anything. It does not. Those are going to be technically your skills, so we'll go ahead. Accidentally clicked. We'll go ahead and copy these. What are the skills? Control copy. Oh, right there. Skills. I know it has an immunity. Immune to charmed. So I am just copying and pasting what applies into these fields. If nothing applies, you leave them blank. Well, and that should actually be not damaged as a condition. Any senses, as we'll do these dark vision and passive perception. Copy. Senses. That language is, I think, is just common. Yep. Oh, should grab it. Challenge rating in XP, 3 and 700. Tab 700. All right, so this thing's almost built out. We just got to add a couple of its traits and actions. So first thing, he's a shape changer, ambusher, and surprise attack. These are all going to go as traits. So I'll just grab shape changer. I'm going to control copy it while I'm here. To add a trait, you hit this edit list. Hit the green add item. Give it the header, shape changer. And then in this text is the actual coding if it applies. You'll put it in this box. Control V. He has two more coming. The next one is titled Ambusher. And the third and last trait is, I believe, a multi-attack, surprise attack. Multi-attack is an action. All right, so we got a couple actions. It's multi-attack and a slam attack. So the multi-attack is just a description of what he gets 2 attacks. If you make a mistake, Control Z shortcut actually works in here. I'll show you if I screw something up. So we got slam as the next one, and straight up again, not right out of DnD Beyond. I'm not doing any programming. I'm just taking it exactly as written. All right, so I'm done editing that, and this is actually considered an action. So he has 3 actions. Read thoughts. So go back. I'm going to edit my actions for my third one. Add a third action. And we'll get the whole thing. And this is it's not picking up any of the hyperlinks if you were wondering. It is coming in as plain text right here in Fantasy Grounds Unity. Okay, so that is the sheet here on Doppelganger and Lost Mine of Findelver. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this out. And one of the cool things now, you can see the dice rolls are automated. When you double click on it, I had his slam attack with the D20 plus 6. Say that was a hit, which it probably wasn't, but we'll say it was, and you just roll the damage roll. Right, and that's automated as well with the 1d6 plus 4. It came through right there. Perfect. It's pretty good. So we have a doppelganger. I'm going to go ahead and edit. If you want to add and you probably do, a token, you just double click here. Oh, that is in Fantasy Grounds Classic. We're going to go to Assets. And I'm going to look up a human, see whatever I own in here is what I'll use. I have to probably remember it. That looks fun. There you go. Because he's doing slams, he doesn't have any weapons in his hand. We'll use that one. Right now would be a good time to mention then, if you want to keep your tokens on export, you have to, when we do this to export, you will have to grab that token. And that's a non-module, so I can't take that one. That is owned by something. So when we load our game, after we're done creating this module, we'll have to go back and assign that token, if that's what we want to go with. Okay, so Doppelganger is complete. All right, now we can see in our NPCs, if I go, like I said earlier, on categorized, we have what I've been copying and pasting. We have the Doppelganger. So let's kind of tie this together, though. And this will get us to the end of this class. So we're going to go back to our story. We have the Kragma hideout with the map, but we don't have any encounters. I'm going to go ahead and build up the Goblin ambush encounter. There's going to be 3 goblins in here. I'm going to kind of try to sync it with the name of where we're at in the story. So we're at 1.1. So I'll call this create add item encounter add item 1.1. And I'll take our NPCs that we have uncategorized. We don't have any goblins in here, so let me go ahead and go to all and get a goblin. I like the SRD one, so I'm going to do that one. All right. Now I'm going to grab what is going to be ours now, and I'm going to put it in here. So there's going to be 4 of them. Instead of dragging it 4 times, you drag it once, and you can type in 4. Now I have 4 goblins in this encounter in the Goblin Blind. I can pre-place where these tokens will be. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? And I could also pin the encounter right here on the map. Right? Or if it's part of my story, I could delete that. If I'd rather play it this way, is delete that shortcut. And I will put the encounter. Let me make sure this is unlocked. Hit enter there, and I'm going to put the encounter right here. Right? Now I could drag the whole story portion, so I'll have the text and everything I need to know when my players get to this portion of the map will be right here in the story. And I just simply, when they get there, I'll click, and all that information is now saved in that pin. We'll load the encounter into our combat tracker. So here's that combat tracker again, side by side. Load, add encounter to combat tracker. I got the 4 goblins here. And now we are playing Lost Mine of Fendelver. We'll show NPCs, and they're on the map, and I see what the goblins see. That is it. We just kind of keep building this out until we have all our encounters, the stories that apply to each room, and we're going to link the stories to each part of this map. Hopefully that makes sense, gets you going, gets the creative juices flowing on how you could use D&D Beyond to use on the virtual tabletop Fantasy Grounds Unity. Like I said, you do not need to own anything outside of what you own on D&D Beyond. If you choose to go down this path, you'll just simply take advantage of the free open game license and SRD data. Now that we're done here, last thing we really want to do, assuming we're all done with creating our module or our adventure, we'll close all this stuff out. We want to export this as a mod file, MOD. And what this will allow us to do is load this into unique instances over and over again, and it is now our asset on our computer. So we're going to go to export. I'm going to call this LMAP. Optional, you could choose a thumbnail icon. I'll do the long name here. Category is, we'll We'll call it a 5e adventure. This is really what you want to do. The author. Holding down 5e. There we go. We could use the author's name. Go back here. Ooh, does it give me? Oh, here's credits. All right. I'll do my best. We'll see. There we go. They're in there. I'm going to select everything we did. We're going to export it. No, the tokens, again, they have to be unique. They have to be your tokens. They can't be owned by another asset like we tried showing earlier. And I'll hit export. All right, module has been exported successfully. So for proof of concept now, I'm going to go ahead and I'll exit this, return to launcher. And usually Fantasy Grounds, it will only reread your local files if you relaunch a unique instance. So we're going to close this launcher entirely. Go ahead and I'm going to launch Fantasy Grounds again from scratch. Full screen. Create a new campaign. Well, now we'll call this Friday Night Campaign. Right, Friday nights. We'll go on the cloud probably, but just for this, I'll keep it local so no one tries to jump in while we're doing this. LAN, and it'll be a 5e rule set. So let's select that. A reset over here. So again, I'm going to select. I'm going to select LAN. We'll hit start. Again, I'm just showing what this is going to look like once you load it. Once you've already saved what you've transcribed over from DnD Beyond. We have this fresh session. There's nothing, no assets in here, nothing uncategorized, right? We're going to load it from our library, just like we did with that SRD data. I'll load the module. We're going to load, so it should hopefully be lost. All right. This is the one we made, this Lost Mine of Phandelver here. So I'm going to load that one. It's interesting that took all those credits. Okay. We do want to load, when this is our actual Friday night session, we do want to load the SRD data again, so that way it is, the rules are running in the background underneath the hood of this. That way things know how to automate on the dice rolls and all that good stuff. And I'll get those basic and basic. Right. So then once we're done with our data module activation, once again, we'll see that we have the Lost Mine of Phandelver and these 5 core open game license materials here in Fantasy Grounds. All right, so now that it's loaded, I could go to story. Cool, now it's Lost Mine of Phandelver. We go to Goblin Arrows. I could start playing the adventure right here in game, or like we said, we didn't have to get all this text. If we had a second monitor, I could read right out of that and copy and paste into the chat here in game for my players. But it's just kind of nice to show that you could do this. I have the image with the map. I have the Kragma hideout. I have the encounter. I could load the encounter to my combat tracker. All right, and I open up my combat tracker, and there are my 4 goblins. I'll make them visible, and we are now playing. What we didn't do is the line of sight is not active, so I got to enable that again. But again, unlocking and just hitting that. We're good. We're playing D&D. It's Goblin's turn. All right. He's attacking. He's damaging. Well, everything's automated. It's Fantasy Grounds. All right. Thanks for watching. I hope this taught you what you needed to know to take advantage of the material you own in D&D Beyond. Have a good one.